great good morning, everyone. It is a beautiful Monday, September 29th. This month is almost over. The year of our Lord, 2025. My Cordaro Jeweler's watch tells me it's 9:08 a.m. here on the East Coast. This is the Bob Cordaro Show. I am he. Broadcasting today from the United States of America. And our little bit of a comeback yesterday in the Ryder Cup, I think it proved it. It's still the place where the brave, like the veterans we will be saluting today, but who we lost this year, like Charles Stein, Danville, John Pelly, Bloomsburg, John Scutts Vanston, Jessup, Robert Radzewski, Wyoming, the United States of America, founded with a certain knowledge and understanding by our incredible founding fathers that government is not, shall not be, cannot be our parent, our guide, our salvation, our direction, not any of these things, but is nothing more than a necessary evil we require to organize and protect society. The United States of America, the country where for the first time in human history, freedom was declared to be an unalienable right granted to each individual by God. It was not something that could be parceled out to groups. It was not something that could be controlled by government or government officials, because our great American Constitution ensures and codifies freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of association, economic freedom, and yes, freedom of the press, however they use it. Now, armed with these freedoms, and only because they had them, this ragtag bunch of immigrants, rejects, and their progeny created the richest, most powerful, most culturally diverse and accepting nation ever to grace our planet Earth. America, the only place specifically invented and designed so that every American can live their life in the manner they choose, unlimited by their background, upbringing, race, color, or creed, unhindered by the government or those who would use government to control others for their own comfort, benefit, or power. This Bob Cordaro Show, well, it'll always be convincingly conservative, lovingly logical, proudly and passionately patriotic, and reliably right. And so we gavel to order this meeting of the Club for Common Sense this week, kicking off. Oh, I had a great weekend. I really did. I hope you did as well. On Friday, Cutie and I went and met her sister Kim up at Jack's. And it was great. The food, always outstanding. It's our neighborhood pub. And it's really top shelf, gastronomically speaking. The food's great. And then on Saturday, or as Cutie would say, Sari, did we do something in the afternoon? No, I don't think so. But we go with our friends, the Palucci's, and with two of my favorite realtor friends, Tommy Exeter and Leah Giannakopoulos. And we decided, they decide. I'm not part of any decision-making when it comes to Cutie. Anyway, they had decided to do a sort of a, I don't know how you call it, a barb crawl, whatever. We were going to bop around downtown Scranton because there's just so much happening. I mean, so many great places. And the theme and the theory was appetizers and a drink at each place. So naturally, we started off at a Terra, which was outstanding, as always, and comfortable and all of that. And then we walked over to a place called Paciocchi's on Wyoming Avenue, great Italian place. And the owner's there, and he's a character. But Paciocchi's was great. And then the owner of Paciocchi's, we were going to go to the roof. We wanted to go to the rooftop at the Oppenheim. And so he took us through his kitchen And this back way, I said, we were laughing. It seemed like Goodfellas going into the Copacabana. And we go to the rooftop, and that was great, always neat. Packed with, young kids, but still fun. And then we went to a place called Warren's, I believe it's called. They're related or the children or grandchildren of my old friend Frankie Gallardi. And the place is great. We've had dinner there and all that. And we had a drink there, and they have a nice little outdoor. So I was able to get a bottle of wine and smoke a cigar. And then we finished the night at Sergei's, which is always hopping, always fun. The girls wanted to dance. And it was a really great night. And then yesterday was my son's 38th birthday. It's my oldest son. I'm actually floored by that. Now, what you would say, at least in prison, is, I told him this, I call him Monkey. I said, you're a grown-ass man, 38 years old. He's got 3 kids. They just had a kid, my 4th grandchild, had a son, little MJ, on the 21st. So his birthday, the 28th. And, that was great. And then we went to an event for, Cutie and I went to an event for Gene Barrett running for mayor. And that was splendid. It really was splendid. And it was nice to see there was different people there, not political people. And Gene's conversation with us and speech to us was, we're done with politics and everything. Like, who helped me, who didn't help. No, we're done with Democrat, Republican. We're done with it in the city. We've got to now move forward. And he said what I've been told by every business person that I know in the downtown, that this mayor, while she's trying to take credit, Cognetti, for things that have been happening, she's been the impediment. They've had to overcome her nonsense. You can't even get into City Hall. And so that was a great event. So kudos to Gene Barrett and all that. And the whole gang that was there last night. It was great. It really was. So that was a good weekend. It's a little tiring, obviously. But a good tired. And I don't know, the football, I wanted to bet a game. And I actually don't even know how it turned out. But the Rams, I wanted to bet. The Los Angeles Rams. And they were -3. And the Weekend Warrior had picked them. And we're going to hear from Chet Parlavecchio at 11:05 today. And, it was a good football Sunday. Penn State, man, they got pounded, huh? I'm usually too busy to really pay close attention. And the Ryder Cup, actually, man, I don't know. That gets my juices flowing. It was better than, for me, it is better and really gets me revved up, angry, all of that, than any football team, any football game. That's America. And Bryson DeChambeau, man, he came back from 5 down and tied his match on the last day. And he could have won it, but he tied his match. And they said, well, why are you so this? He said, this is the biggest thing all year. This is, it was so important to me, more important than anything I've ever done golf-wise. And the announcer was like, why? He said, because I love my country. That's what Bryson DeChambeau said. I love him to start with. Now it's off the charts when he said that. And no, I don't like him. I think he's a little pissant, Rory McIlroy. I did play his cut because I found that over the weekend, sent it to the Bulldog to play today. Basically said, I'm American. I love this country. He didn't love the fans, and I thought they were a little bit because they were rooting against the Europeans. And I agreed with him. I almost played a cut from his post-tournament press conference. He rightly pointed out they were rooting, instead of rooting for Scotty Scheffler against McIlroy, they were rooting against McIlroy, which he said that's not the way it should be. And I tend to agree with that, particularly in golf. It's the last bastion, I guess golf and tennis, the last bastions of civilization when it comes to sport, although golf's a game, not a sport. But it was great thrill. I mean, when we thought America was going to come back, I had tears in my eyes. Honestly, I did. Because that was America. And I can't think of another. I said, I don't get excited about the Olympics at all. But this, I get into a lather. I was so angry on Saturday because they blew it. And, meaning the Americans. And then they almost they almost came back. Almost. But at least they weren't embarrassed. Although I was telling my son, I said, I had a defensive coach in college by the name of John Vitone. And he used to say, gentlemen, there are no moral victories. And he's right. And he's right. Somebody says, Bob, God bless you with all that running around. I'm your age, and I did that for years, but now I want to slow down. LTS. LTS back at you. The problem is Cutie. She's a whirling dervish. So I'm following her around. Otherwise, I'm sitting home, you know. Although with Chauncey there, I might start opting to say, okay, you go, honey. By the way, somebody says fans were disgusting. Something has to change. Anybody who gets out of hand should be warned once, then booted. Let's have some respect for the game. I don't take it that seriously. I think part of that was funny. Like, let's have a little rowdyism in golf. I think you could take it too seriously. But it was actually fun. Hey, by the way, they have on the my monitor Eric Adams, who was at about 11% out of the race for mayor of New York. Do those points go to Cuomo? Do they go to Sliwa, who's my candidate? Somebody says, that was my problem. Oh, the same listener said, that was my problem. A woman who wouldn't stop running. I unloaded her, so now I can take it easy. But here's the problem, though. Let me say this. Without Cutie, who I know is listening now, so I'm watching my words. Her and Chauncey are listening. But I'm telling you, I wouldn't do anything. So it's probably a good thing. And by the way, speaking of, you could still get in touch with Dunmore Lumber. This Saturday is the 33rd annual Anthony J. Cordaro Memorial Golf Tournament. My little godson who died at age 3.5, to benefit St. Joe's. 1 o'clock shotgun start at the Marjan up in Mount Cobb. I love that place. It's both in Mount Cobb and Jefferson Township. I love that place. I can't wait to go. I don't know if I'm going to even play. I just love the whole setup, and I love the food. But you get in touch with Dunmore Lumber, you can go up there and have a great time, or sponsor, or just show up, give them a check, and St. Joe's will get it all. Great stuff. All right. We've got to take a break. Bob Cordaro, WILK. We'll be back. This date, 1957, Buddy Holly and the Crickets. They recorded their hit Maybe Baby at Tinker Air Force Base. What an interesting place to do it. In Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, while on tour. And before that, in our history moment, President John F. Kennedy authorizing the use of federal troops to integrate the University of Mississippi. He didn't have cooperation of the governor. We talked about Arkansas, where the National Guard was called out, and I think the 101st Airborne or the 82nd Airborne for Arkansas to integrate their schools by Ike. Now we've got to protect our ICE facilities, and the people in Oregon are going out of their minds. Well, these Democrat left-wingers, it's a disgrace. I mean, when you've lost Bill Maher, you know your party is sick. You've lost Bill Maher. When you've lost John Fetterman, an avowed Bernie Sanders socialist, you know you really stink. It's a disgrace. Absolute disgrace, this Democrat Party of today. Please, somebody take it over. We don't need a third party. We need the Democrats to be normal again. I truly believe the country depends on it. Now, and I'll give you an example. In the city of Scranton, a friend of mine at the event for Gene Barrett asked me, he goes, "Oh my God, you're supporting a Democrat." I said, I look intensely for Democrats I can support. I really search them out. And Gene Barrett's one I can. He's running as an independent, and I committed to him really before I ever met Trish Bynum, who's a great candidate too, by the way. But, I mean, only the math of the race means you got to vote Gene. They're never going to elect a Republican in the city. It's gotten ridiculous. But, yeah, I mean, we going to get the Gene Barretts to take charge of this party and make it normal again? Or are you going to let Mayor Cognetti and Billy Gaughan, true insane people, left-wing lunatics, incompetents because of their lunacy? You're going to let them run the party even here? It's crazy. And that's the problem. Everybody in the Democrat Party is either a left-wing lunatic or cowing to them, with rare exceptions. Like, again, the things Fetterman says are great. His voting record is the exact opposite, frankly. The things that Bill Maher says, and I think believes in, that he espouses. He's he's an intelligent guy. And he's telling them you're gone. You're out of your minds. By the way, same listener texted back, you can't abuse a golfer verbally to the point where you're insulting his wife and he's yelling back, as with Rory, that's a step too far. I don't know what was happening. But yeah, no, if they're bothering the family of the golfer, then yeah, arrest them, get them out. So I would probably agree for the most part. And again, you should be cheering for the American, not jeering the European. But I don't take it that seriously. I truly don't. It's, it's fans and they're drinking and they're doing whatever they're doing and they're having fun. Yeah, but you don't get it. You don't abuse. You don't even mention somebody's family. And if you do, you should get your legs broken and carried out. And I don't know that happened, but you may have followed it closer than But America lost. That's the bottom line. They made a great comeback. They showed a lot of guts, a lot of gumption, and but no moral victories. The cup is the Europeans again for 2 more years. All right, Bob Cordaro, WILK. We'll take a break. Want to hear from our great sponsors? We have the Veterans Tribute, and you could reach us. And when I say us, I mean I'm not referring to myself in the third person. You could reach the Bulldog and I at 570-883-0098 by call or by text. We'll be back. Our Veterans Tribute this hour and every hour, this day and every day. Brought to you by our man, John Basiliga, and his great family of companies. Well, I made sure I enjoyed Basiliga hospitality over the weekend. They were very hospitable. But his first company, maybe his main company, Eastern Roofing Systems, Jessup. They're the premier roofing company in the eastern United States. And guess what? Because they're located in Jessup, they use all that expertise, all that experience for your home or your small building here in Northeast Pennsylvania. Eastern Roofing Systems. What is a veteran? This is found outside the Bloomsburg American Legion. carved in stone. A veteran, whether active duty, discharged, retired, or reserve, is someone who, at one point in his or her life, wrote a blank check made payable to the United States of America and its people for an amount of up to and including his, her, or her life. That is honor. John Pelly, retired Berwick Hospital tech, avid hunter. He was 91 and passed away back in September 17th, earlier this month. He was from Bloomsburg. Born in Hazleton, graduate of the former Beaver Township High School, John grew up in Beaver Valley and resided in Bloomsburg since 1965. He proudly served in the U.S. Army from 1956 to 1958. John was an X-ray technician and a nuclear medicine technologist at the former Berwick Hospital, retiring in 2004. He was a member of St. Columbia Catholic Church, life member of the Tip Top Hunting Club. Tragically, he was preceded in death by a daughter, Charlene Stabley, back in 2019. Surviving him, however, his wife, the former Cynthia Hobbs, with whom he celebrated a 67th second wedding anniversary, June 8th this year. He's also survived by 3 daughters, 5 grandchildren, 8 great-grandchildren, and a sister. John Pelly. Charles Stein, longtime PennDOT employee. He also loved to hunt. He was from Danville. We lost him at age 84, September 8th this year. Born in Cooper Township, Montour County. He was the son of the late Millard and Susan Stein. He spent his entire life in the Danville area and was a 1959 graduate of Danville High School. Charles was employed by the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation for almost 40 years. Member of the American Legion in Danville, past commander there. He proudly served his country as a member of the U.S. Air Force from July 1959 to July 1963. Sadly, he was preceded in death by his wife, the former Charla B. Deal, ending a marriage of 40 years. Surviving, 2 sons, 9 grandchildren, several great-grandchildren, 2 sisters, and other family members. Charles Stein, our great veterans this hour, brought to you by John Basiliga and Eastern Roofing Systems, Jessup. Storm Tracker 16 forecast from meteorologist Allie Gallo. Today, a mix of clouds and sun, 78 degrees. Tonight, partly cloudy, 54. Tuesday, partly sunny, 80 degrees. Wednesday, mostly sunny and cooler, 70. Okay, so we're a little up and down today, huh? The Big Bopper. He hit the charts with his song, Chantilly Lace. Bob Cordaro back with you on WILK. Yeah. So somebody reminded me, what, Bob, you didn't stay home all weekend reading that page-turner Kamala's book. Wow, how could you, LTS? I did read it. Yes, I did. I didn't read the whole thing. I'm going to keep plowing. It is, I'm telling you, it should have been written in crayon. She's a child. I don't care what you think of Donald Trump. And you've got, look at, he gives you enough reason to hate him. His policies are sterling, outstanding. His mannerisms, well, they rub a lot of people the wrong way, and I get that. But I don't care who you are. You got to be thanking God this imbecile was not elected. Wow. I'm scared turning the pages, thinking of what could have been. And the phoniness, and she's lying in the book constantly. So, yes, I did, unfortunately, read the Kamala book that Bill from Pittston gave me. And I'm telling you, you're in the middle of the book, and you know how you get sort of transported when you get in the middle of a book, and I'm thinking, oh, my gosh, she could have been the president. Like, it looked like it for a little while. And I will tell you this, guaranteed, if it's 100% truth, and I know a little bit about politics, not a lot. If this race was not 107 days, but 207 days or a year or whatever additional time Biden should have given her, she would have, I'm telling you, he would have won every state. Somebody texts in, morning, Bob, LTS. The schmuck who burned the LDS church has brought shame upon my beloved Marine Corps. Now, I want to know what type of discharge he had, and can Trump posthumously give him a dishonorable discharge? This is Rodney. Yeah, Rodney, I heard that, and I'm like, oh, no, a Marine? Yeah, I mean, somebody on the Kamala book, so it's not a picture book. I know. She's got pictures in there. I'm telling you, it's childish beyond measure. And by the way, yeah, let's just take a minute. God bless the people. They don't even know what the death toll is, because not only did this sicko shoot up the Mormon church, but and I used to go to Mormon service, and one of my good friends in prison was a Mormon. And so I would go to the Catholic Mass, and, you're not doing much of any importance anyway. So I would go to the Mormon service. It's a good portion of Christianity. They try to be really good people. Well, he wasn't content with shooting up the church. He burned it. And they don't know how many. And I do hope, you're right, Rodney, I hope he can get a dishonorable discharge or do something to him. Embarrassed the damn, completely embarrassing the Marine Corps, which deserves our praise. All right, I got to take a break. Oh, by the way, my man Gene Fisher sent this in, and I saw, and as soon as I opened the email, I saw it on my monitor on Fox. This idiot, who they're calling a Massachusetts Karen, she forgets to put her car in park when she got out to heckle ICE agents who were arresting illegals, and the car rolled into the lake on this idiot. Oh, good. Goody, goody, goody. Thanks for sending that headline and reminding me to touch on that story. All right, we'll take a break. Bob Cordaro, WILK. We'll be back. Capitol Records released Merle Haggard's hit, Okie from Muskogee. This date, 1969. Murph adds, many rock and rollers made fun of the song at the time because it was about living in middle America, being patriotic, not smoking pot or taking acid, and not burning draft cards. Way to go, Merle. And before that, Pope John Paul. He died. I remember this so well. And it's funny. We were, I forget how it exactly it happened. But the previous pope had died 30 days earlier. And my friend Dickie Carr, he missed Mass the week that the, what was it, Pope Pius? That Pope Pius died. They appoint John Paul, and for some reason, I don't know if he was at a Penn State game or what happened, Dickie missed Mass again. And then this Pope John Paul I died. And Dickie said to all of us, he goes, Jesus, he used to call me Norman. He says, Jesus, Norman. He says, every time I miss Mass, the Pope dies. Not laughing about the Pope, laughing about my friend Richard Carr with a great little story there. Anyway, somebody pointing out the shooter in Southport, North Carolina, because we had another disaster there, was also a U.S. Marine. J.J. Trucker tells me, Bob, I don't know what's going on, but 81 is crawling near Pittston, and 315 is all backed up. There are, and I'm going to bring in Tyler to talk about it. There were pre-planned lane closures for inspection or construction. He'll tell us. He'll fill us in. Pre-planned south of Pittston on 81 South. And it's going to cause a headache. I'm so lucky I missed it on the way down because it doesn't matter what time you leave. No matter what you do. Hey, here's Bill from Pittston. He's the guy who gave me the Kamala book, and I'm not angry at him one bit. All right, Bill.
Bob, I took a Evelyn Wood speed reading course when I was 12 years old, and it really served me well. It did not work with this book.
Yeah.
Because it was so infantile. I was yelling at the book, and I started to write down comments. Like, for instance, there's a point where she's talking about a mass shooting, and nobody mentioned the gun. And I'm thinking, yeah, blaming a gun for killing somebody is like blaming a spoon for making Rosie O'Donnell fat. I'm thinking. So I don't know if some of my comments may have entertained you or not.
It's very amusing. That's right, guys. I forgot to mention that because Bill, when he gets fired up when he's reading the book, he writes down comments and underlines, which I find actually it's the most amusing parts of the book.
You hit the nail on the head. That the more you read it, the more you get to know. She really believes that she is the epitome of a leader, and if she had been there, if she was in charge, everything would be okay, and everybody else is beneath her.
She's a childish, silly person. It's scary.
Well, the next round of books are being from the Biden administration. You got Jill's coming out. You got Pierre, John Pierre, whatever her name is. But you got people ready to excoriate.
It's not even worth bothering with those. Yeah, they're ridiculous. You have to read Kamala. She was a presidential candidate. You have to read her childishness. The Jake Tapper book, which you gave me, another interesting book. In fact, my son was saying yesterday, he said, I was thinking it was going to be biased for, meaning the Tapper book, biased for and trying to cover up for Biden. He said, but to see that a guy who's clearly slanted to the left writing, he said, I can imagine how harsh it actually was, how horrible it actually was after reading Tapper's book. So, and Kamala didn't know it. Yeah, she didn't know it.
Yeah, that's the same thing with Kamala. You have to, when you read it, you realize how fortunate we are that she's not leading this country. I mean, it's scary. And like I said, I'm reading the book and my head's getting exploding. Like, oh my God, I can't believe she said that. But she did.
Well, she lives in a fantasy world. She truly does. It's a different place than we live. We'll put it that way.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah. All right, my man. Thank you. Always a pleasure. And thank you for the book, too. I do appreciate it.
Well, my pleasure.
All right, my friend. I look at my Baccardo Jewelers watch. Yeah, you know what it tells me. It tells me, first it says Baccardo on it. So I love it. But they also sell, it's a Baccardo watch. It says, but there's Raymond Weil, there's Breitling, there's Oris, there's Longines, there's Michelle, there's Shinola, Luminox, Swiss Army, Seiko, Tory Burch, Victorinox, and more. But they say it's 10:02 right now on the nose. And we'll be back after the news. Great good morning, everyone. My Ricardo Jewelers watch tells me it's 10:10 a.m. on the nose here in the great Northeast. This beautiful Monday, September 29, 2025. This is the Bob Cordaro Show. I am he, and it's a big day to fight for America, defend our values. And with the help of our man, John Basiliga, and one of his great companies, Eastern Roofing Systems, to honor the brave who have made us and kept us free. Veterans we lost this year, but celebrate today, thanks to John. Like Charles Stein, Danville, John Pelly, Bloomsburg, Robert Rizewski, Wyoming, John Vanston, Jessup, and Bob David Schmiel, Oliphant. So with history, our great founding fathers, and the incomparable Constitution of the United States of America as our guides, let us continue today's battle. Gaveling back to order, this meeting of the Club for Common Sense. And Tyler Cornell's in the studio, and he wanted to update us on this traffic mess on 81 South. Hey, Tyler.
Yeah, hey, it's not good. Yeah, bumper-to-bumper traffic on 81 South for the bridge inspection work that's taking place between 175A Pittston and 170B Wilkes-Barre. Right now it's backed up between mile markers 174 to 177, but it's likely to get worse throughout the day. But it got worse right away because there was just a motor vehicle accident right at the off-ramp to 175. So that just happened. So it's likely going to get more backed up, even now probably towards Avoca at this point. So there's that. And then there has also been increased traffic and heavy delays along Route 315 in Pittston here. So because everybody's trying to find the alternate route. So, yeah, I don't know how long the bridge inspection work, usually probably around 3:30 or so. But that is what we were told, is that it was supposed to be 175A Pittston and 170B Wilkes-Barre is where it's going to be happening. But right now it's going on from 174 to 177. That's where everybody's backed up, basically in Pittston.
Yeah, Tyler, does it sound like a one-day thing or
a
multi-day?
I believe it's a one-day thing. The email that I received it didn't say it was going to be taking place tomorrow, Wednesday, or anything like that. It had just said today, like 7 a.m., it was going to be starting. So if I get anything else, I would be back tomorrow.
There was no backup. I'm coming down to work from Scranton. There was zero backup when I was driving.
And I had told Johnny, because I said, it's probably going to be starting around 7, and then it seemed like it started a little later. So maybe that's why right now at 10 o'clock it's gotten way worse, because I think they got a late start. So
if you're going 81 South from Avoca on towards Wilkes-Barre, just try to skip it or avoid it.
Yeah, and even with the alternate routes like 315, you're going to be sitting for a little bit. It might be a little better, but it's pretty heavy. So if you're heading southbound, just try to find an alternate route wherever you can.
All right, Tyler Cornell, thank you very much, my friend. So 81 South, just try to avoid it if you can, and hopefully, everything will be okay. If you're trapped in it already, try to hang in there. Try to hang there. Let's hope you have enough gas. It's that bad. Let's go, because we got Monday musings, but we've got Mother Teresa, and I don't want to forget. September 29th. She says, living a Christian life provides for the growth of faith. There have been many saints who have been gone before to guide us, but I like the ones who are simple, like St. Therese of Lisieux. I chose her as my namesake because she did ordinary things with extraordinary love. Well, Mother Teresa, you did extraordinary things with extraordinary love. Quite amazing. What a great saint. What an amazing person. Thank you, Mary Regina. Well, it's Monday. And although we don't do it every week because things happen, we like to do Monday musings on Monday. And here he is, our man, John Perillo. I might be seeing him in a couple of weeks. I certainly hope so. How are you, John? Good morning.
I look forward to that. But you can't make me follow Mother Teresa. That's not fair.
Well, hey, if I'm reading Mother Teresa without a lightning bolt hitting me, then you could follow. Okay. You could follow Saint Teresa.
Very fair. Very fair. And to your listeners who are stuck in traffic, my deepest sympathies. I used to hate that, so don't have a lot of it out here on the ranch. But Bob had a gentleman on Friday, Brian Kelly, talking about the Comey indictment rather, and I wanted to give you some more of a layman's view of what's going on there, and maybe what I would call like the background story, right? Not the legal story, but kind of the background story, because there's been a bunch of bad information on that indictment of Jim Comey to begin with. And that indictment isn't over Russiagate or the efforts to investigate or prosecute Trump, which kind of makes it an odd case for this DOJ to bring. But there were 2 perjury charges that went to the grand jury against Comey. And the grand jury voted to move forward with only 1, which in itself is actually kind of interesting because in a grand jury, the defense isn't physically present or able to present evidence, and they aren't physically there. So the prosecution has every possible advantage. And that's where the phrase comes from that anyone can indict a ham sandwich. But this grand jury said that at least on 1 charge, even the ham sandwich standard was probably too high. And the one that will go to a judge, at least to a judge, has to do with Comey's actions as FBI director and his discussions with Andrew McCabe, who was then the deputy director. And it had to do with a leak to the Wall Street Journal that involved the FBI's investigation of
By the way, it also
Foundation.
involves corroboration from legal counsel for the FBI by the name of Baker.
Yes. So the question becomes, let's start with the fact that the leak, whoever did it, was a disaster actually for the Clinton campaign, because that story came out around a week before the election, and it confirmed that the FBI was looking at Hillary Clinton. But leaking is leaking and it's wrong. So if somebody leaked the story, no matter who benefited, and if somebody lied to keep it from Congress, that's illegal. And it's the lie that is the charge against Comey. There's an auxiliary charge of obstruction, but it's tied to that same lie. Right. So to begin with, this case has been assigned to a Biden appointee in Eastern Virginia who might throw it out pre-trial. But I think that's actually a disaster for the country, not because Comey is guilty necessarily, but because a trial with a jury would be a better outcome for us as a country, because without a trial, one side or the other is going to yell cover up. So I think if I were that judge, I hope that whoever it is actually takes the time to put this through trial. And one story pointed out that the indictment itself doesn't matter either McCabe or Clinton. It was a news story, but that's not abnormal. Because if you're not the subject of an indictment, you don't want your name made public. So there are, quote, persons and they're, quote, agents, but they're never names in those files. So if you hear that on the news, that's why you don't – I mean, we know who these people are in theory, but that's why it's not in the indictment. And as a side note, by the way, that's why you don't get to see the Epstein files, right? Because someplace in this very extensive Epstein investigation is a cell phone Excel spreadsheet that shows who called who, and somewhere on it says that one of these associates of Epstein called Bob Cordaro, and it means nothing without the context.
Yep.
But if it gets leaked out, then it gets reported in the press that Bob's a known associate or a friend, and that's why grand jury investigations have to remain closed. So if you don't have that context, the information can hurt innocent people. So that's why there are no names in those charges, right? The charge that's going forward has to do with the alleged perjury during Comey's testimony to the Senate Judiciary Committee in 2020, which, if it happened, is a crime. And the specific charge is that he falsely stated that he had not, quote, authorized someone else at the FBI to be an anonymous source in the news reports, end quote. That's the charge. And so regarding that FBI investigation, person 1, who is Hillary Clinton, we all know that, but that's why the indictment doesn't say the name. And just so you remember, McCabe, the deputy, admitted that he told Linda Page to leak to the Wall Street Journal that they were investigating Ms. Clinton. And that leak, again, happened about a week before the 2016 election that Trump won. And if you believe McCabe, which is a stretch a little bit,
Yeah.
That leak was designed to counteract the accusations that the FBI was being partisan in what it investigated, and that it wasn't investigating Hillary Clinton for political reasons. And at the time, the Obama Justice Department under Matthew Axelrod was pushing the FBI to stop investigating Clinton. And McCabe allowed the FBI to acknowledge the existence of the investigation, which was absolutely against FBI rules, and it was something that Comey himself had refused to do. So when Comey is called to testify in congressional hearings, he gave the, quote, "I can't talk about ongoing investigations," unquote, kind of response, right? But McCabe said that Comey authorized the leak, which Comey denied. And if Comey's denial is false, that's perjury. That's the charge, right? So the case against Comey seems to hinge on McCabe's testimony. And at this point, I have no idea whether there's any other evidence that hasn't been made public. But
well, look at they're ducks of they're two ducks, two peas in a pod. I'm forgetting the duck analogy. They're two peas in a pod. I mean, they're gonna try to frame this as I might have misunderstood that I was getting ordered to do this.
Right. Well, and that's actually a great point, because McCabe is hardly a reliable witness. Remember, he lied about the leak, and then he lied about lying about the leak.
Yep.
And as part of that investigation, Inspector General Horowitz believed that there was no evidence to pursue Comey for approving the leak, and there had been, if there had been, the prosecution would have pursued it, because you always want to catch the biggest fish. So turning the deputy, who was McCabe, against the director, who was, Comey, would have been a prosecutorial win, right? So if you get all those sordid details, the issue of the false testimony to Congress comes from the questioning of Senator Ted Cruz, who used the word, quote, authorized, when he was questioning Comey in 2017. And there appears to be that, Cruz asked, quote, have you ever been an anonymous source in the news reports about matters relating to the Trump investigation or the Hillary investigation? You responded under oath, never. And then you asked, have you ever authorized? He then asked, have you ever authorized someone else at the FBI to be an anonymous source in the news reports about the Trump investigation or the Hillary investigation? You responded again under oath, no. Now, as you know, Mr. McCabe, who works for you, has publicly stated that he leaked the information to the Wall Street Journal and that you directly were aware of it and you directly authorized it. Now, what Mr. McCabe is saying is that you testified that the committee cannot both be true. One or the other is false. Who's telling the truth, right? And Comey responds, and the usual Comey, because he's very careful how he responds. He says, I can only speak to my testimony. I stand by the testimony you summarized that I gave in May of 2017, which was that he didn't leak it, right? So that's the charge. And Senator Cruz puts, the directly aware and authorized in the same sentence. So he says, were you directly aware or did you authorize? And so while Comey was aware of the leak after the fact, he stands by the fact that he did not authorize it. And by putting those two together, Comey's answer is correct. And the law here is very clear. An answer that is, quote, technically correct is correct. And while McCabe is completely uncredible as a witness, the issue is really the way Senator Cruz asked the question. And so that means that nothing that Comey said during his testimony before the Senate was perjury to this point, right? And according to the IAG investigation of McCabe said that he told Comey that he had authorized Peter Strzok and Linda Page to tell the Wall Street Journal what was going on. So McCabe asserted that he told Comey, but not that Comey authorized it. And if it matters, McCabe said that Comey thought the leak was a good idea because it was, designed to refute the idea that the FBI wasn't investigating Ms. Clinton. And further, that David Axelrod, who was, on the administration side, was really upset about it. So the discrepancy is that Comey says that McCabe never told him before McCabe authorized the leak, and Comey says that he was upset about the leak. And then you have the fact that McCabe said both that he didn't authorize the leak, and then that McCabe, chewed out the New York office over the leak, which would mean that he knew that at some point that there was the leak, and he could have done that chewing out to divert attention from the fact that it was him who did the leaking. But it doesn't really matter.
A bunch of phony swamp creatures.
Right.
It's funny though. Cruz is he's a very intelligent guy. He argued in front of the Supreme Court several times. I would have thought his questioning, and I've been watching this, his questioning would have been more pinpoint with Comey in the stirs, and it really wasn't.
Well, and Bob's point is precisely the correct and important point. The fact is that the way Ted Cruz asked the question gave Comey the out to say no. Because if you put the two phrases together, he could have asked, did you authorize, and waited for a response. And he could have asked, did you approve, and that would have been a separate. But by putting them in the same sentence, he gives Comey the out of saying no and being truthful technically. Yeah. And that's what the issue is here for your listeners. I didn't want to make this a legal discussion, but that's why there's a really serious chance that this gets thrown out in pretrial, which again I think would be a mistake for the country. This needs to go to trial, so that way we can get this cleared up, and yes, we can say yes, you shouldn't have done X, but what you did wasn't perjury, and then we can move on with our day because we have enough other news going on.
My experience with people that are that sanctimonious, such as Comey, is that they're generally bad people.
But he's very careful, right?
Yeah, well, because he knows what he's doing, Yes. He knows he's doing the wrong thing, and he's covering up in the midst of the crime, and that's what these types of people do.
Well, and again, our country is built on the legal system, right? So things are, there's nobody above the law and nobody below the law, right? So in this particular case, what he did is probably, I'm not standing a trial here, but it's probably not below the law. I don't think what he did was illegal. We'll find out here soon enough.
Well, it was clearly unethical. He was clearly dodging the truth. The issue is perjury is very difficult to prove, particularly when one of your primary sources is ethically challenged as well when it comes to Andrew McCabe. Unbelievable.
And a proven, and that's, again, Bob said on that is another extremely important point. McCabe lied under oath and then lied about lying, right? So if that's who you're relying on for your charges, that's going to make it extremely difficult for the prosecution.
And again, a jury instruction in a case of this type is, if you think that someone lied about something substantial, then you can believe that they lied about everything.
Correct.
Yep.
And again, I'm not the lawyer here, and you had a good lawyer on, and that wasn't my point. My point was just, as listeners, there's a lot of stuff flying around out there, and I appreciate Bob spending the time to give you kind of the important salient facts.
John, the one thing you just got to hope is that they were rushing to beat the statute of limitations, which was tomorrow.
Yes.
And that they didn't say, well, let's just get this done. And without really thinking about the implications, because making him into a left-wing martyr when he's a disgraceful person and he was just a horrible at his jobs, whether it was the FBI or U.S. attorney. And to allow him to skate, you would have been better off not indicting. So let's hope they know something that we don't know.
Yeah, and if not, when I see you, we'll put a couple of bucks on this. I'm going with acquittal, so I'll give you odds even.
Well, on certain things, as much of an optimist as I am, I'm a pessimist. On bad guys going away, I'm generally a pessimist.
And yes, and your experience is much deeper and more personal than mine. So I'll bow to your wisdom.
Well, bow to my stupidity. All right.
All good, Bob.
John, thank you very much. Always a pleasure.
Thank you, guys, and I hope you have a great week, and I hope that wreck gets cleared up so you guys can get moving. I know how frustrating that is. Thank you, and have a good week.
John Perillo, Monday Musings. We'll be back. Our Veterans Tribute this hour and every hour, this day and every day. Brought to you by our friend John Basiliga. And we're going to feature today one of his great companies, Eastern Roofing Systems. One of the premier roofing companies for institutional, commercial, in the entire eastern United States. And guess what? They'll bring all that expertise, all that experience to you right here in Northeast Pennsylvania on your small building, on your home. Eastern Roofing Systems. Turn our attention to a beautiful stone outside the Bloomsburg American Legion. What is a veteran? They state a veteran, whether active duty, discharged, retired, or reserve, peacetime or wartime, is someone who at one point in his or her life wrote a blank check made payable to the United States of America for an amount of up to and including his or her life. That is honor. Robert Radzewski. He was 94 when he passed September 19th. He was from Wyoming. He was surrounded by loving family and clergy. His beloved wife of 33 years was the late Joanne Radzewski, who passed away back in 1992. Born in Sawyerville, currently known as Sawyersville with the middle S. He was raised in Sawyerville. Bob was a graduate of the former Sawyerville High School, class of 49. During the summers, he worked on tobacco farms near Babbs Beach in Suffield, Connecticut, the famed Connecticut Rappers. Following high school, Bob enlisted with the United States Navy, honorably serving his country as a radar man during the Korean War. He proudly sailed above the USS Askari, the USS LSM 462, and the USS Summit County, which took him on a mission above the Arctic Circle to Point Barrow, Alaska. After his faithful naval service, he enrolled at Wilkes College, now Wilkes University, studying electrical engineering. He finished his studies at Pennsylvania State University, acquiring a Bachelor of Science degree in electrical engineering. He became a licensed professional electrical engineer in 1979, working for Smith Miller and Associates in Kingston, retiring as senior vice president. Some of his projects include Wesley Village, Wyoming Valley West VOTEC, Meadows Nursing Center, Luzerne County Housing Authority, 6th Street Apartments, and he was very proud of his Town of Gold project, where he designed the gold and yellow street lighting for the borough of Kingston. He was strong and unwavering in his Roman Catholic faith, member of John the Evangelist Church, Pittston, and prior to its closing, St. John the Baptist Slovak Church. Member of the Knights of Columbus, Kingston. Long-serving member of the council, was also a fourth-degree knight. Family was the focal point of Bob's daily life. After losing his wife at such a young age, the birth of his grandson brought him tremendous joy. Left to cherish Bob's memory are his daughter, Judy, and her husband, his grandson, generations of nieces, nephews, and cousins. Robert Radzewski. Here's a guy I knew and really, really liked, John Scutts Vanston. He was 93 when he passed October 22nd, 2024. He was from Jessup. He was preceded in death by his great and loving wife of 65 years, the incomparable Alice Vanston, who passed in 2021. Born in Scranton, he attended Scranton and Dixon City schools. His family says before realizing education was not his strong suit, but entrepreneurship and hard work was. He left school and started working delivering coal for his uncle John Olszewski. He then joined the U.S. Army, volunteering for paratrooper school. He achieved the rank of first sergeant as part of the 187th Airborne Regimental Combat Team. during that time, and you wouldn't know this from knowing him. During that time, he made 2 combat jumps into North Korea. Wow. Discharged from the Army, he returned to the Mid-Valley, met and married Alice Simoncelli, and established his lifelong residency in Jessup, PA. He worked for Simoncelli's Ace Coal Company, attended Johnson School of Technology on the GI Bill, earning his certificate as a master carpenter. His first break came when he received the contract for the demolition of buildings to make way for Interstate 81 in northeast Pennsylvania. He then had a career with Procter & Gamble as carpentry foreman, and then started his own business, Vanston Builders, building vacation homes for over 3 decades, primarily at the Hideout, Lake Ariel, PA. After building nearly 100 homes, including his own forever home in Jessup, John Vanston, in a very Forrest Gump-like manner, stated, "I'm finished building." During his retirement, he helped establish a Michi restaurant, one of my favorite, and took pride in watching that restaurant's success for over 25 years. He then took up cards and golf at the Country Club of Scranton, where he was the gin rummy champ. He and Alice had friends too numerous to mention. A wonderful sense of humor. He's survived by his children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and many, many friends. John Scutts Vanston. Our great veterans this hour, brought to you by John Basiliga and Eastern Roofing Systems. Storm Tracker 16 forecast from meteorologist Ali Gallo. Today, a mix of clouds and sun, 78 degrees. Tonight, partly cloudy, 54. Tuesday, partly sunny, it's going to be 80. Then Wednesday, sunny and cooler, 70. And that's as far as Ali takes us. Bob Cordaro back with you. Always the lawyer. This day, 1969, R.B. Greaves, he released his great hit, Take a Letter, Maria. And before that, boy, man, Great Britain, they are on the wrong course, man. Culturally. And now, you can't elect left-wing lunatics. The problem was the Tories, the conservatives, were so bad. If Nigel Farage does not emerge as the next prime minister of Great Britain, all could be lost. Their incredible culture, their incredible history. These are nuts. They're as nuts as the worst of our Democrat Party. Scary stuff, man. Digital ID, and you can't work without it. Digital currency next, and they'll control what you buy. Believe me, they'll justify and take step after step after step. Now, someone who would never put up with that, Jeannie Gialorenzi, and she is with us now to talk about the Republican dinner coming up. How are you?
Good morning, Bob. I'm wonderful, thanks. How are you doing today?
Well, I know you would never put up with what they're doing in Britain.
Good God in heaven.
Scary.
You know, it's been whispered about all over the world, and then not whispered, and now they're just in your face telling you, we're in charge, we're going to tell you what to do, and that's the end of the story.
Yep.
And if everybody thinks that it's going to end over there, it takes anywhere from 6 to 18 months before what you see happen over in Europe, and I'm talking not Eastern, Western Europe, before it lands here, Bob. We are one election away from losing it all.
It's that close. Well, that's why you guys are still doing the great work that you're doing. Tell us about the dinner next week. I'm the MC. I must admit and confess to that for my old friend Bobby Pettinato.
Thrilled.
Yeah.
Well, and who better, right? I mean, how long have you known Bob? I don't want to age anybody here, but let's call it what it is. It's been a long
Jeannie,
time.
I've aged myself. It doesn't matter.
Well, we're thrilled to have you. There's nobody better to do that for us this year. We have our annual fall dinner coming up next a week from this Thursday, so October the 9th, doing it over at Glenmora Country Club. Doors open at 5. Dinner starts hopefully promptly at 6. And tickets are available online at LackawannaGOP.org, $65 and $75 respectively. And there's also sponsorships available too. So if anybody is interested in that, they can reach out to Chairman at Lackawanna GOP via email to talk about sponsorships. But yeah, I mean, Bob Pettinato and what he's meant to this area for how many years, too many accomplishments to list, right now, but suffice it to say, I mean, everybody and their brother has experienced, hopefully, La Festa every year, which is always just an amazing, amazing event. Colts, I mean, Bob was commissioner for 12 years with, the Pettinato-Lugar team, upsetting Democrats, and had a pretty interesting way that it all came about. I'm sure you've told that story before. The infamous ballot.
Yeah.
Dropping from ceilings and such. So that's something we'll definitely.
Well, he's got another story, and I've had him tell that. I had him tell that on the air. The story about them trying to steal the election with the absentees when he was eventually awarded, he and Charlie Lugar, with the commissionership. But another great story he tells is how he outwitted the Scranton Times when the elephant died. I'm telling you, I've had him tell these on the air, and I said I could listen to them every day.
I was going to say the exact same thing every time he tells it. And well, what a great guy and what an amazing personality. So nobody better to tell it than him, but you're in stitches every time.
Yeah, and I get to do my Bobby Pettinato imitation on that evening. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, I'll tell you, and really, I'm so thrilled that we're honoring him because, he is just so deserving of the honor. And, in addition to that, it's so important that people come out and support your local GOP. We have all of our candidates there who are running. It's people call it an off-cycle election. There really is no such thing as off-year or off-cycle at this point. It's always important. It's so important to stay engaged and recognize that if you don't take care of local, paying attention to what's happening in the Middle East really doesn't matter. Because it's your own backyard that you have a responsibility for. You're a citizen not only of this country, but of your own community. Worry about that postage stamp. Worry about that area. And that's what we're looking to do. So we're hoping a lot of people come out, and give Bob the honor that he is due, absolutely, and support our other local candidates. A lot of great folks running. And let's not forget the judges, the retention question that's coming up this year.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's anything more important right now.
We've got to boot Wecht, Donahue, and Doherty. Awful left-wing lunatic judges, and they're all up.
Some of whom who will age out before they could even finish a term. I mean, what is that?
Yeah.
So
hey, by the way,
on a positive note, right? Let's go positive.
Well,
here.
let's go one more note of caution. There are people, particularly on the Democrat side, who are ballot harvesting in Lackawanna County, in the city of Scranton. And they've got to know that they're going to be watched, possibly by the U.S. Justice Department.
Well, I think that there's a wonderful woman by the name of Harmeet Dillon that's on the job with respect to a lot of what is going on in terms of elections. And aside from the fact that for some reason Pennsylvania, along with other states, will not comply with just simply giving them the voter rolls. I mean, what's that all about?
Yep.
What's there to hide, Bob? I mean, if that's if that's public information, then why wouldn't they just simply send that along to the Justice Department? So, the election integrity issue, I don't want people to feel like because of there are issues. I mean, you just talked about it back in 1971, right? History repeats itself.
Yeah.
So there's always been an issue, but we have to turn out in numbers like we did last year that helps assure that it could not be stolen. The only way we make sure that we can have change here locally is to show up in numbers and represent.
Amen.
Right?
All right. So next Thursday, honoring Bob Pettinato, Lackawanna County GOP. I'll be the MC, and Jeannie will be furiously preparing. Thank you.
Yes, I will.
We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks so much for always giving us a shot to talk about this. We appreciate it. We appreciate your support, and hope to see everybody there next week.
Jeannie Gialorenzi. We'll be back. The Guess Who, Murph tells us this date, 1970, they released their hit Share the Land. Hey, Republican candidate for Scranton Mayor Trish Bynum, she is talking about the mismanagement of a Kapouse splash pad project in the city of Scranton. And Mayor Cognetti, again, believe me, total incompetence. Now, according to city documents, Trish Bynum says the contract was awarded under highly questionable circumstances. A qualified local contractor who submitted a lower bid was passed over in favor of an out-of-town firm. You know, like the kind that contribute to your congressional campaigns. The winning contractor's proposal was thousands of dollars more expensive, yet was selected despite failing to meet basic project qualifications. The bid review inconsistencies raised serious questions about transparency, fairness, and whether political favoritism influenced the process. Cost overruns and change orders have driven up the price beyond the already wasteful starting picture. Delays in construction, well, we didn't get it open this year, did we? Oversight from City Hall was virtually non-existent because they're not good at what they do. Trish Bynum said this was sloppy work and a clear failure to protect the interest of taxpayers. I don't, she attacks this old boy network that never existed, by the way. And she's it. Except it's a bunch of left-wing lunatics from around the country. That's her gang. Corrupt as the day is long. Somebody says, Inspector guy says, I'm working by the airport and there's so many planes landing, you'd think they were bringing illegals in. And somebody else texts, and I have Brian Hughes. I told him about it. Do you have any info on the big plane doing touchdowns and takeoffs? They're saying it looks like Air Force One, blue and white. I'm in a studio. I don't know, so we'll see if Brian can track that down. Well, guys, it's 11 o'clock. You know what that means? That means that my Bacardo's watch says it's time for the news with Brian Hughes. We'll take a break for that. We'll come back. We got Chet Parlavecchio on our football weekend. We'll talk to him when we come back. It's the Bob Cordaro Show. Great good morning, everyone. 11:08 a.m. here in the great Northeast. That's what my Cordaro Jewelers watch tells me on a beautiful Monday, September 29, 2025. This is the Bob Cordaro Show. I am he, and it's a big day to fight for America, defend our values, and with the help of our man John Basiliga and just one of his great companies, Eastern Roofing Systems, to honor the brave who have made us and kept us free. People like veterans we've lost last year and this, but celebrate today thanks to John. Like John Vanston, Jessup, Robert Radzewski, Wyoming, Charles Stein, Danville, John Pelly, Bloomsburg, and David Schmiel, Oliphant. So with history, our great founding fathers, and the incomparable Constitution of the United States of America as our guides, let us continue today's battle. Gaveling back to order this meeting of the Club for Common Sense. I read that book. I told you I got it. Bill from Pittston dropped off a copy of the Kamala Harris book, and it should have been written in crayon. It really should have been written in crayon and with, stick figures somewhere in there. But I suffered through it. Well, it's Monday. So it not only means Monday Musings with John Perillo, it means it's our football review of the weekend with our man Chet Parlavecchio. Penn State star, Green Bay Packer, high school coach so good they put him in the New Jersey State Hall of Fame. But he wasn't done yet. He went and coached the pros. So our guy's done it all. And here he is. By the way, this is his Dancing with the Stars song. And he wasn't half bad, I'm telling you. Chet Parlavecchio. How are you, my man, Chester?
What's up, Bobby? How's your week?
Oh, everything's great. We start off the week with you because it makes Mondays brighter.
Oh, not around the State College area today.
Oh, dear Lord. What happened? What do you see there? And they're calling for his head. But, if you don't have a replacement, don't bother me. That's the way I look at it.
Here, again, I've been waiting since the game. I've been saying that this is going to be an interesting show. So we're going to spend a little more time on this game since finally we have something to talk about when it comes to our home, Penn State. Bobby, I'm a fan of preparation. I think one of the insightful things I try to bring across on this little radio show we do is things that happen behind the scenes and things that coaches are thinking before the events ever happen on the field. Everything is cause and effect. Now, when you talk about preparation, you talk about wanting to be at the pinnacle of your performance on opening day. You want to be at game speed. Well, if anything was apparent the other night in Oregon, which was a great whiteout, the great atmosphere, which is second to none in college football, but what was greatly apparent to me was for 3 quarters, Penn State had trouble keeping up with the speed of the game. Mm-hmm. The truth of the matter of the game, Bobby, was it would have been criminal if Oregon would have lost that game. They badly outplayed Penn State for 3 quarters. Now, why? Bobby, I said it earlier when we were fooling around joking. I said we'll talk about Penn State when they play somebody that hits back. Well, you could schedule one of those games. And why do you schedule it? Well, game preparation, what it's like just getting in and out of the locker room, making sure your groupings are straight. You want some personnel decisions you might want to finalize. So you play one of those games because it takes care of a lot of different things. But when you play 3 of those games and have a bye week, you are playing a month worth of football at an inferior level, at not what you consider a national championship level. And don't tell me that doesn't affect performance. That's too long without playing situational football in a meaningful situation, meaning we need a first down to get a score before the half. Game is in question. We have to get a defensive stop. None of those things were tested since the end of training camp 1 month into this season, Oregon looked like the team that had been playing at the proper elite speed that the game needs to be played at for a national championship or playoff level performance.
Does Penn State have the inherent speed? Do they have the quickness and speed to beat an Oregon? Say they played later in the season.
Well, you saw in the fourth quarter, they finally established a running game. They were starting to win the line of scrimmage. Now, at that point, it was 17-3. Oregon might have went into a little shell. Then they had that bad 15-yard penalty against them, which took them out of one drive. But Penn State started to establish the line of scrimmage to a point where you had a big decision to make. Do I go for two at the end of this or don't I? And in fairness to James Franklin, I would have kicked the extra point there, too, at the end of the game, because momentum at that point had truly switched over to the Penn State side. So I have no fear going into the overtime with you.
Yeah.
But as far as the preparation, you can't play three of those games topped off by Villanova and then go play in an elite speed in a big, big situation. And I thought that was an enormous mistake by Penn State, because that's out of conference scheduling, to put three of those in a row with a bye week and play a top performer. Because if you look at Oregon's schedule, they played middle of the road, Big Ten teams right up until the Penn State game. And they looked to me like the faster, crisper team for three quarters. And in the fourth quarter, the old saying, the cow's out of the barn.
Yeah.
Now, you bring that to the press conference and you listen to postgame, it was brought up, but it wasn't answered. And then the other thing that kind of bothered me a little bit, I'm old school, you know me, Bobby. You know, when asked about, you know, the question was asked, do you go for two there, don't you? And I agreed what Coach Franklin did. I agreed. I would have kicked the two at that point because I felt momentum's in my favor. But not because analytics says so.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah,
you're not winning against these top programs. And maybe we should take the analytics book and put it away and look in the players' eyes and say, you know something? I feel it in them today. They're going to get that deuce. They're going to get that two-pointer. They're going to get that first down. When football becomes analytics, and it's bad enough to watch it in baseball, but when a game of passion and emotion, when you're tired and you can't move, if you can't look in your players' eyes and make that decision, you gotta redo your thought process. You got to maybe sit back and say, let's start caring a little bit more about that look in their eyes than what a book of statistics says in the game of football.
Yeah.
That was disheartening to me.
So they just didn't get it done, but I mean they came back a la the Americans and
the season's
in the
fine.
golf.
You're
Yeah.
in good shape. Maybe you need this. Hey, listen. I always said this. I've named you many chances where the right a bad loss at the right time could be the best thing that happens to a football team.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, listen, they're talented. They could turn this whole thing around. They're still going to be a playoff team. They might wind up playing this team again. But it was a great college football game. It was a great atmosphere as always, and it's going to, like I said, two quality teams that will see each other again. The only disheartening thing was it was a little predictable if you look before. And that's only that bothers me. Maybe in the future we tend not to schedule three of those in a row. And that might be the future. Now, getting to the pros, like real quick. I know we spent a little time on that, but it was the best game.
It was
of the
the
day.
best. It was the biggest game and the best game.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And like I said, those are the thought process as a fan you have about a game like that when it's over. In the NFL, the locals, I mean, it was great to see the Giants get on the board. Jackson Dart looked solid. I mean, he wasn't abused by the moment. He completely kept his poise. He used his legs to make plays, and the Giants happened to hang around long enough against a much depleted Charger team, but very depleted on the offensive line. You could see that Herbert was running for his life most of the day. They looked out of sync all day. McConkey looked terrible at wide receiver, had a number of drops. They were just out of sync, but the Giants did what they had to do. You brought in your new starter. You kicked in his career with a victory, and that's what you have to do. The Steelers, on the other hand, that was their best performance of the year up until the last 4 minutes. Yeah. It was like, are you kidding me? You trying to throw this thing away? Again, Aaron looked great. They established the run game. They finally complemented Rodgers' play-action game. They got the big guy Metcalf involved. That's the Steeler team you want to see as you progress.
Chet Parlavecchio, what have guys told you about playing in Europe? How does it change the preparation? How does it change your outlook and all that?
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, it's a time change. You know something, Bobby? It's a pain in the you-know-what is what it is. Yeah. In the middle of the season, you got to pick up. You got to pack. You got to go. Oh, one guy got beat up. I mean, sometimes it's a little dangerous in these places. The guy from the Steelers got assaulted. I mean, obviously it's a pain. You have to get up, time zones, all that. So much so where whatchamacall is staying. They're playing in London next week, the Vikings. Really? And they're playing, they're staying in Europe. So, you know, again, obviously it takes, you have to settle in. It's a big pain in the neck in the middle of a season. But for the Steelers, it turned out to be a good thing. It got them back in sync, and they look good. And then if we finish the locals with the Eagles, again, ugly performance. Have not really been able to get Saquon going. It hasn't looked good, the running game. It hasn't looked like it did a year ago. Defensively, lack of pass rush. Can't get the pressure on the quarterback. They can't seem to get those the sacks that they got a year ago. And yet, with all that said, they're 4-0, and they find ways to win. And that's what great football teams do.
Well, they won ugly practically every game last year.
Yep. Is that funny? You watch them, Bobby, and you shake your head and you say, how the hell they win this game? Well, you block a punt, and you pick it up and you go, and you realize that special teams is 1/3 of the game. And you respect special teams enough to know that those are the biggest plays and shifts in momentum in football. Biggest shifts in momentum in football are big special teams plays. And never, obviously, the Eagles take a lot of pride in their work with that, and that's why they're Super Bowl champs.
Amazing.
So that's what it was around the NFL, Bobby. Anywhere else.
Hey, let me ask you a quick question. You're a hacker golfer like I am. Did you watch the Ryder Cup?
Yes, I did. It was a great comeback.
Wasn't that something?
It was exciting. You know something, Bobby? I got to realize something. I did not, and I'm a sportsman, and I did not realize the amount of people that were there. Oh, my God. It was a raucous crowd. It was an unbelievable atmosphere. And you know what's funny? It was good to see golfers, again, like we talked about earlier in the Penn State game about passion. They played with passion. Yeah. It was almost like a football game mentality. They were really into it. And I think for a lot of those guys, that meant more to them than any individual accomplishments that they had done. They represent their nation. And I think that has a power over somebody that I don't think you can duplicate.
Well, Chet, to me, and I was saying this earlier, I said beyond the Olympics, beyond the NFL, beyond any college games, I was more wound up over the Ryder Cup than anything that gets me moving on sports. I really was.
And you know why, Bobby? Because the bottom line was when you put the words USA against the world, you're going to root for your country. And that's, that's what makes the Olympics so special. That's what made the four seasons hockey thing this year. Yeah. It's special because when the minute you take away from the New York Rangers or the Pittsburgh Penguins and you put those guys together and you say, this is the USA, you love everybody. Everybody you love that day.
And I said, the guy that made my day, DeChambeau, who had that great comeback, they asked him, he was saying how important it was and everything. And the reporter asked why. He goes, because I love my country.
That's right.
I got tears in my eyes with that.
And there's another level that takes you to. I always remembered something. I remembered, if I could bother you with this quick one, but it's a tremendous example of representing your country. Do you remember when the Philadelphia Flyers were the old Broad Street bullies and everybody hated them, the Dave Schultz, Don Selesky, Andre Dupontes, and everybody hated them. Well, Russia had the best team in the world. Russia at that time was literally a team of professionals playing at an amateur level. And they did a tour of the United States, specifically the NHL, and they abused the New York Rangers 9-1 one night. They went and beat the Toronto, and everybody hated the Flyers. And they were making an embarrassment of the National Hockey League, the professional ranks. And that night they played the Philadelphia Broad Street Bully Flyers. And the Flyers gave them a beating where, if you remember, they didn't want to come out in the third period, and they were told, if you don't come out, you don't get paid. And Bill Clement said an incredible line that day. Bill Clement said a great line. I'll never forget it. He said, you know something? We were the most hated team in America, in the National Hockey League at that time. But on that night, everybody in this country was a Flyer fan.
Yeah.
You put the country's name on the marquee, things become different. The level goes up. We all become one, and I think that's what makes this country special.
Amen. Well, Chester, thank you, my friend. Always great. We love it. There's
All
your
right,
are you dancing with the Dancing the Stars
Hey, Bobby,
song?
you would be hell. Like, a lot of my friends and stuff are listening to this now, but they get a bigger kick out of when the Earth, Wind, and Fire thing goes on.
Oh, Lordy Lord. Well, it's just a very un-Chet-like song, but, hey, you were in the disco era there,
That's right, brother.
I avoided it, you did not. Chet Parlavecchio, our man.
Take care, Bobby.
NFL College. Thanks, Chester. We'll take a break. Bob Cordaro, WILK. We will return. Our Veterans Tribute this hour and every hour, this day and every day. Brought to you by our man John Basiliga and just one of his great companies featured today, Eastern Roofing Systems. One of the premier roofers for institutional commercial use in the entire Eastern Seaboard. And guess what? They're headquartered in Jessup, so they'll bring that expertise and experience to your home, to your small building, right here in Northeast PA. You go to the American Legion in Bloomsburg. You'll see carved in stone, what is a veteran? And I add a little to this. It says a veteran, whether active duty, discharged, retired, or reserve, peacetime or wartime, is someone who at one point in his or her life wrote a blank check made payable to the United States of America and its citizens for an amount of up to and including his or her life. That is honor. Well, a controversial vet, a guy I knew, David Schmiel. He died August 19th last year. I've saved this obit. He was 69. Born in Oliphant. He served us in the United States Marine Corps. He was a hard worker. He had a passion for remodeling homes. He loved playing bingo. Couldn't wait to visit the college with his family and light the biggest TP bonfire ever seen. Talented artist, often utilizing charcoal and chalk to create his masterpieces. He's survived by his son, his daughter, his siblings, his grandchildren. He's now reunited with his mother and his brothers. He'd like to thank his other family, the legal team that believed in him and never stopped fighting for the truth. James, Maria, Tracy, Rosemary, Josh, Hayden, Megan, Connie, Julie, Julia, and the late Gary. Dave was convicted of a horrible murder. To this day, I believe he didn't do it. I worked with Dave side by side. Just a story. My brother Ron and I were carrying a 400 or 500 pound safe with him. And I don't remember if Ron slipped or I slipped, and it dropped on Dave's hands. He didn't even get angry. He said, "Please help me get it off my hand." Never could believe that person that I knew would have committed the horrendous murders. And he fought, maintaining his innocence right until his death last August. David Schmiel, a Marine, and I think someone who was not guilty. Our veterans today, brought to you this hour by John Basiliga and Eastern Roofing Systems. Storm Tracker 16 forecast. Meteorologist Ali Gallo. Today, mix of clouds and sun, 78 degrees. Tonight, partly cloudy, 54. Tuesday, partly sunny, 80. Wednesday, mostly sunny and cooler, but it'll be about 70 degrees. The Allman Brothers, Murph tells us this date, 1973, had their only top 10 charts hit at number 10 with that great song, Ramblin' Man. And by the way, I'm getting reports. My man Gene Fisher sent me this Trump derangement syndrome to an extreme. There's supposed to be somebody passed away from taking Tylenol to prove. I mean, could you be this stupid? Seriously. You're going to let your derangement, you're pregnant with a baby whom you have a responsibility to, although for these left-wingers, it's a clump of cells. And you're pounding down Tylenol. I saw the disgusting videos of these idiots. They're not fit for motherhood. They're insane people. I mean, the gene pool should stop with them. Crazy, crazy idiots. Pregnant left-winger fighting for life after overdosing on Tylenol to disprove Trump. Again, he says things inartfully all the time. The recommendation was the same as the company that manufactures Tylenol. It's not suggested when you are pregnant. That's it. The company said it in 2017. My word. Somebody said every one of the women in the videos in 10 years will be pumping their children full of hormones and cutting off their breasts. Yeah, they should take, if you did a video taking Tylenol, unless you were kidding and it was fake Tylenol, you know what? The moment that baby's born, we should take that baby away from you and give it to a better family. You're nuts. By the way, continuing, we're checking this out. We're talking about the Ryder Cup and said it was a Happy Gilmore crowd. But the airport, you guys keep reporting. My wife was out earlier with her friend, also noticed a couple of those bigger jets. Not sure if there's some airports rerouting their traffic, but I don't know. We're tracking it down. The airport didn't get back to us yet. Somebody regarding my Dave Schmiel, he was convicted of murdering a family, slaughtering them. And he fought it, and he fought it till he died. And somebody said that's the wildest stories you've ever read. It's No, I knew Dave. And that's why I brought it up. And I said, I was wondering whether I should do it. And I said, he's a veteran and needs to be honored for his service. And there it is. Hey, Brian Hughes stopped in. Brian, what's the story down at the airport?
Just heard back from the Wilkes-Barre Scranton International Airport. Apparently, they're doing what they call touch and goes.
Yes.
So I guess landing, taking off, or something to that extent. It's nothing
with private planes, or people seem to be saying one looked like they thought it looked like Air Force One.
Well, be honest, if Air Force One was coming in, they would have had the highways shut down in both directions.
Well,
anywhere
no, with
near
the
airport.
president on board.
Exactly.
Without him, it's not. Actually, it's not Air Force One when he's not on it. So yeah,
Air One, Mobile One, or something like that. Yeah, but that seems to be what they're saying. They didn't really specify if it's military that we're doing the touch and goes. It sounds like more like a military, or Air Force type of thing than anything else. So.
I was told, I was at Fort Dix for the wrong reason.
Okay.
But that they would sometimes fly here and touch and go and then turn around and go back to Fort Dix.
Interesting.
Maybe it's part of that. But people were saying they looked like civilian planes. Interesting.
So if we hear any more, we'll let you know.
Please do. Thank you. Brian Hughes, he's on it. He's on it, baby. All right, let's go quickly to Mark Payne, running for city council in the city of Scranton. I was just reporting on this splash pad project that's gone awry.
Oh, God.
A Kapaus Avenue splash pad project that they wasted money on. They apparently picked the company that wasn't the lowest bidder. Crazy stuff.
Yeah, and she does that all the time, and with council's approval. And it's crazy.
Well, she's got the three blind mice. She's got the three blind mice that vote with her.
Yeah, she does. She absolutely does. And there's a fourth one on there that likes to stand up and vote no against things that he already knows that, his colleagues are going to vote yes, so he's safe with that, and he could grandstand a little bit. But when you see something wrong, being a no vote doesn't count unless you're standing up and you're actually trying to fight for what you believe in. And that's what we need more of.
Last election, I thought that, Mark Payne, I thought you ran a great campaign, and the people just didn't vote for you because you're Republican. It's the most silliest thing I've ever seen. It's the silliest thing.
It absolutely is. I get out. I mean, I'm meeting hundreds and hundreds of people every weekend, knocking doors or just at different events, and I run into different people all the time. And they'll ask me, I'll ask them about their concerns or, what it is that they need change or they want to see different about, and I'll give them my ideas and what I want to bring to the table and how I want to approach things. And at the end of the conversation, almost 90%, if not more, of the people will say, geez, you sound like you know what you're talking about. You're a candidate that I think we could get behind. We like what you're talking, what your ideas are, all that. And I'm like, great. I said, let's make sure you get out and vote on election day. And they're like, yeah, absolutely. You're a Democrat, right? And I said, no, I'm a Republican. And they give you this really puppy dog look, and they say, geez, I'm sorry, I can't vote for you. And I'm like, well, no, it's a general election. You can. No, we just can't vote for
maybe you don't understand me, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and it's really sad. I don't understand that, but that was 2 years ago, and a lot of things have changed since then. And
I think people's eyes have opened, and you know what's interesting, Mark Payne, this councilmanic election for you. Not only did you go out and prove yourself and continue the fight in between elections, but on top of that, with both Trish Bynum and Gene Barrett running, there's going to be people there's enough people that have had enough of this mayor and her three blind mice that they just may give you the nod regardless of party affiliation.
Absolutely, and that's what I'm hoping for. People are coming up in droves. Right now there's a group of them that are all Democrats that are supporting me, and it's fantastic.
Yeah.
So I really think that people are changing. They're just starting to open their eyes. It really isn't about party in the city.
Correct.
Everybody wants. They're all worried about on the national level where we're at. But they got to understand, good government starts at home. It starts in your neighborhoods. It starts in your cities, your counties, your state. And that's where we need to change. That's what we need to make better here. So then this way we could demand what we want on a national level instead of accepting what we're getting from on a national level trickling down to us.
Well, Mark Payne, I was talking to somebody at an event for Gene Barrett the other night, I've known him forever. He's my candidate, regardless of party. And they said, geez, what are you doing at he's an independent and registered Democrat. And I said, I'm looking for Democrats that I could support. I'm a Republican. I'm looking for ones that are not in on the lunatic fringe as our mayor is. I said, I'm looking for them. I'm hoping that they take the party back. And so it's got to be a similar thing for people. The city's got to count more than your political registration. It has to.
Absolutely. I 100% support the Democrat candidate for district attorney. He's a fantastic guy, and he's probably the best person for the job.
Yeah.
And he's a Democrat, so I'm supporting him 100%.
Yeah.
Our tax collector, she does a great job, Kathy Weschler. She's a Democrat also.
Yeah.
I'm supporting her. She's fine. There's a lot of them that I support that are normal, good people that want the best for our area, and that's all I look for in a candidate. I've never voted straight party. I always voted the person.
Yeah. Well, Mark Payne, we thank you. We thank you for checking in. We appreciate it. And just keep checking in, would you? Let us know what you're up to and what your issues are.
Absolutely. Next weekend, next Monday night, we're going to have an event at Samario's. We're going to have a special guest in to speak everybody, they want to come out and they want to hear about what I have, what my ideas are, come on out, see us. 5:30, the doors open. It should be a good night.
Well, it's at Samario's, so the food's going to be good.
Oh, absolutely.
And I love to hear you speak, so that's great, Mark. Next Monday at Samario's, what time?
5:30.
5:30. All right, my friend. Thank you for checking in. We appreciate it. And
No
thank you
problem.
for
Thank
running.
you.
Thank you for running.
Thanks.
That I appreciate even more.
Appreciate it.
All right, my man. Mark Payne, candidate for Scranton City Council. Let's see. Let me sneak another call in here if I can. Bill Ayers, he's on the blower for PA Bikers for Justice. You got a rally this Sunday. We don't have much time, Bill, but fire away with details.
This Sunday we're going to be at the Luzerne County Courthouse, joined by some speakers that were wrongfully convicted in Pennsylvania. They're going to share their stories, explain the problems with the laws and bills that prevent compensation for wrongful conviction victims and other injustices they've endured. It's going to be at 1 p.m., again, at the Luzerne County Courthouse. There's going to be a motorcycle ride to the event. That meetup is going to be at the Sheets in Dunmore at 11:15. And after that, we're going to ride to the VFW in DuPont, pick up some riders down there, and then from there head over to the courthouse to attend the rally.
All right. Great stuff.
That's the details of it. The 2nd of October is Wrongful Conviction Awareness Day, so we usually do an event like this around Wrongful Conviction Awareness Day to do our part to stand up for these victims that don't get the support that they desperately need.
Well, I was just talking about one I believe was the case, and he was a Marine, David Schmiel, and he fought to the end, and he passed away fighting for his what he felt was injustice. And here's the thing: I mean, we're not criticizing people. We're not criticizing the system set up to figure out, in the most cases possible, the truth. But it doesn't always happen because we're human beings, and other things get in the way of the truth. Thank you, my friend. Call in again Friday or so, and we'll check in with you again. Bill Ayers. Elton John, this date 1975, he released his hit Island Girl. And we're going to finish up with, it's either Fly Me to the Moon or Grand Funk Railroad, We're an American Band, my favorite songs. I don't know which. And we're going to wrap up with that. By the way, apologies to a lot of callers I wanted to get to. Just too much happening. Man, couldn't get to all of you, but I appreciate you calling and hope you do it tomorrow. By the way, somebody said I did my advanced training at Fort Dix 1985. Well, I did a different kind of training at the prison at Fort Dix for about 4.5 years. Wasn't hardly as noble a purpose as you served. And they call it, as somebody pointed out, it's, the same person, they pointed out it's called Joint Base McGuire. It's a naval institution as well. And, of course, Fort Dix. Anyway, that's the deal. But thank you for your service. A lot of people having problems with the Odyssey app. The Bulldog tells me there were some issue, and it's sort of a nationwide deal that we're having the issue with. Hey, let's thank our veterans one more time, courtesy of John Basiliga and Eastern Roofing Systems. David Schmiel, John Scutz Vanston, Robert Radzewski, David from Oliphant, Mr. Vanston, as I called him, from Jessup, Robert Radzewski, Wyoming, Charles Stein, Danville, John Pelly, Bloomberg. Thank you, one and all, and thank you to your families who remain. Well, tomorrow we're going to have Dave McCormick on. He's going to talk about this pending government shutdown. We'll have him in the 9 o'clock hour. 10 o'clock hour, we have another tutorial on the Italian campaign in World War II from our man Rick Bigelow. And then 11 o'clock hour, we're going to have Phil Kerpen from American Commitment talking about what they're trying to get the EPA to do to stop this climate insanity. Yeah, that would be a good thing, wouldn't it? Well, the Sue Henry Show is next. The Rob O'Donnell Show after that. Guys, great being back with you. A lot of people dread Monday. I love Monday because I'm back with you. And our large dysfunctional family, well, we make it happen, right? God willing, I'll be with you tomorrow at 9. But for now, I must say adios and gavel to a close this meeting of the Club for Common Sense because my Picardo Jewelers watch tells me it's 12 and change. Meeting adjourned.